Okay, so there's a lot of current speculation and discussions going on about what's going to happen to the real estate market in 2020. We're definitely going through times that no one has been through before. So likewise, our conversations and strategies will reflect those changes. I know many real estate agents are now doing a week-to-week or even daily update on sales and sale prices. And that's a great way to keep updated on the micro changes happening in the market to see whether on said periods is the market getting better, are we seeing more listings, higher sale prices, or are we still heading towards a different number. That being said, as a current practicing agent and real estate investor myself, I figured I would add my opinion and view on the market and how I'm going to be shifting my investment strategy to analyze the market for the coming months. What I want to talk about today is taking it a step further past numbers and analyzing the whole supply and demand spectrum, which really comes down to buyers' confidence in the market. Now, before we jump in, I do want to say that this is solely my educated opinion. At the end of the day, we really don't know what the future will bring, and any small number of things can drastically affect any prediction that you hear. So that being said, let's get into it. To get an idea of what's going to happen to the market in the coming months and to analyze it, we're going to break down this video into 3 parts: real estate before COVID, real estate during COVID, and real estate after COVID. Dividing the market into these 3 subsections will give us a pretty good image to analyze, and we'll be able to touch upon the underlying motivations, which I think will be main factors when it comes to how the market will recover after COVID. Part 1, real estate before COVID. Before COVID, you may or may not have heard that real estate was expecting one of the busiest summers that we've seen since 2017. Early January and February, we were seeing multiple offer scenarios on every 3 out of 5 listings, and homes being fairly priced at market value, going for $5,000, $10,000, and then $15,000 over asking as the weeks went on. It seemed that everyone that was on the fence to buy a house in 2018 and 2019 finally decided that they needed a property going into 2020. Now, here are 3 factors why it was so competitive going into 2020. Number 1, mortgage rates were incredibly low, the lowest we've seen in decades, and despite the mortgage stress test, people were locking in financing for amazing rates. So that resulted in a surplus of new buyers entering the market going into the new year. Number 2, supply is low. If you take a look at the chart, real estate is cyclical, and we're at a point where there aren't brand new subdivisions that are ready to buy or being offered. There's a multitude of development going on everywhere, but it won't be finished for the next 3 to 5 years. Meaning the buyers that want or need to buy are turning to resale to do so. And as resale is bought up by new buyers and reoccurring buyers alike, with a steady supply of new buyers still coming in, that leaves us in the extremely competitive market that we were seeing going into 2020. Third and most important, which we'll talk about later in the video, was buyers' confidence. It was at an all-time high going into January and February. Seeing the way things were going, buyers started to get worried that if they weren't able to purchase a home in the first quarter, come springtime, they wouldn't be able to afford it. And that in itself brought in a whole new wave of demand into the market. That's the situation we were in before COVID happened. And if life, quote unquote, goes back to normal, that's really likely the market that will return to after COVID has gone away. Which brings us on to part 2, and that's real estate during COVID. You may have recently seen that the Toronto Real Estate Board recently reported a 69% drop in sales compared to April 2019 to April 2020. But to quickly clarify and not scare anyone, that's referring to the number of homes sold and not the actual sale prices of the homes. So in the first half of April 2019, there were 5,434 homes sold, and in the first half of April 2020, there were 1,654 homes sold. I tried to remember those numbers and say it in one line, but it just didn't work, so we'll keep going. So obviously over 1,600 homes sold is still a lot, but it's drastically lower than what we saw compared to last year. But depending on where you're looking, sale prices have more or less stayed solid. So what that means for my analysis in this video is that the market is still really strong, but buyers' confidence, consumer confidence and demand in the market has obviously significantly fallen. Essentially, only the people that really need to sell are listing their places, and even those numbers are falling, but in a good way. What I mean by that is, if we reference 2008, where people are saying the market crashed like it's never seen before, and we might see that this year. What we saw then was that consumer confidence and demand obviously fell significantly as well. But on the flip side, homeowners didn't have the opportunity they have now to wait. They were forced to sell given the situation that they were put in. There was no support or funding whatsoever like we had today, and essentially that resulted in hundreds of listings hitting the market daily, and then people slashing those prices because they'd rather get something out of the property instead of nothing. In that sense alone, we are in a much better position than we ever were in 2008. Believe it or not, people are much more equity rich in their homes now than they ever were before, meaning they can simply wait till the market gets better, and essentially that puts us in a stalemate scenario. Which brings us to the final part, and that is part 3, real estate after COVID. So taking into account where we are now and where we were before, I strongly believe that we will not only return to that competitive early 2020 market, but likely surpass it and have one of the craziest years in real estate sales ever recorded. COVID-19 essentially halted the real estate market, but I doubt it completely changed the minds of buyers and sellers alike. The first-time home buyers still want to be first-time home buyers. The people that want to downsize, cash out, and retire likely still want to cash out and retire. Unless COVID lasts for years and we see drops month over month over month over month, I strongly believe that in the next 6 months we'll likely be back on that competitive market that we were at and that we were seeing in early 2020, and if not there, then definitely climbing towards something like that. So what do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Were you planning on buying a home and trying to get a deal this year, or were you just looking to sit on the sidelines and see how this all plays out? Hopefully you got some value or enjoyment out of the video. If you are planning on buying or selling this year, make sure to continue to do your own research and talk to a lot of more professionals currently in the business to make sure you feel confident with the steps you take. As always, thanks for watching, and if you think I got a little too creative or went over my head with the cuts and scene changes, just let me know, and then I'll just stick to one camera angle next time. New video is going to be out Friday, so stay tuned.